So welcome everybody to another edition of Capital Factory Speaker Series here. We've had a lot of great people on the stage here and over in the classroom over the years. I'm Fred Schmidt. I am the I've been a mentor here for a couple of years, but I'm the recently volunteered to be Director of International for Capital Factory. And what that means is I'm spinning up a as yet not yet publicly announced program called Touchdown Austin, which will be a soft landing facility here in Capital Factory for global advanced startups and SMEs to come into the US market via Austin and via Capital Factory. So I've been putting that together for the last couple of months, and we hope to get that going in some even more expanded space here on another floor of this building in the next 30 to 60 days. We'll have incoming companies from all over the world, and we'll also be working to help better prepare our Capital Factory companies for success globally. Since when you're publishing software as a service apps and platforms, you are global instantly, and we don't always think about that. So anyway, because our guest speaker today is with a Australian-based company, I was sort of asked to make this introduction. And let me tell you a little bit about Atlassian. It's an enterprise software company that develops products geared toward software developers and project managers, probably as many of you in the room. You're no doubt familiar with its issue tracking application, Jira, its team collaboration product, Confluence, and through a 2012 acquisition, HipChat, which makes blue swag bags, as you can see. Atlassian serves over 43,000 customers globally, including some of the biggest names in media, manufacturing, and technology, like Citigroup, eBay, Coca-Cola, Procter & Gamble, BMW, and NASA. As I mentioned, the company is Australia-based with headquarters in Sydney and about 1,351 employees, I was just told by Jay. 52. 52, okay, 53. You could be one too. And they have offices in 12 cities. Other major offices around the world are in Amsterdam for Europe and Tokyo, with US headquarters in San Francisco. On Valentine's Day last year, Atlassian expressed their love for Austin by opening an office here that will eventually employ as many as 600 people. Atlassian became a Capital Factory partner in January of this year, with a goal for both parties to work collaboratively together to strengthen the Austin tech community. We'll be working to achieve this goal through event programming, developing jobs, hosting community-driven meetups, and supporting the entrepreneurial spirit for market disruption, change, and innovation. Our guest speaker today, Jay Simons, is the president of Atlassian. The two founders are based in Australia and Sydney, but Jay is based in San Francisco. He joined the company in 2008 as Vice President of Sales and Marketing. He's overseen the company's global expansion, introduction of its starter license program, which is a disruptive approach to freemium where the company donates all proceeds to a charitable cause. Pretty cool. And its growing worldwide customer community and programs. Jay has more than 15 years of experience in the software industry. He began his career at Plumtree Software, where he held a variety of senior marketing and sales roles and oversaw the company's expansion through Europe and Asia Pacific. So with that as an introduction, please welcome Jay Simons.
That was some introduction. That was my entire talk. He just gave for me. I have nothing else to add. So I figured, how long do we have?
As long as you want.
All right, let's
Half hour.
let's stretch out. Sure. So I figured I'd give a little bit of an introduction to the company and kind of what we're about, even though he just did the whole thing, and then I'm going to do it again anyway, just for shits and giggles. But and then maybe use the time to just do some Q&A and maybe get some of the awesome people up here if you want to ask questions about what's going on with us or what we're doing. Use the time that way. That's me. As he mentioned, you may have heard of us as Jira, as Confluence, Bitbucket, SourceTree, HipChat. Those are all products we make. Our mission is to unlock the greatness and potential that teams have to build things together. That's what we're in the business doing. All of our products are team collaboration products. We are a team software company. That's what we care about. The big idea behind the company is that increasingly every company on the planet is becoming a software company. I think Is everyone here in technology? Right? Who's not in technology? Yeah, there you go. So it'd be no surprise to all of us in the room that software is eating the world. And building software is a really hard thing to do. Like most of you know that too. When it goes well, you get these moments of triumph, like when NASA landed the rover on the planet's surface of Mars. A little video there where that's the look of a team that ships. And they ship something really big. When software doesn't go the way you want it to, sometimes you get equally fantastic moments like this is the fireworks display in San Diego 2 years ago where because big software displays are run by, or fireworks displays are run by software, a bug in this particular program made the whole 1 hour show go off in 13 seconds. And again, as an example of software everywhere, like you wouldn't stand in front of a fireworks display. This is one of the biggest ones in the country. But you wouldn't stand underneath a glowing sky and think, wow, this is a software project. But it absolutely is a software project. So, software's hard because people that are building it together have to organize a lot of stuff. There's a lot of iterative discussion about what you're doing. And then, of course, there's a lot of work involved in taking an idea from concept and bringing it to life through code. And ultimately, teams are trying to get to done as efficiently as quickly as possible with the highest level of quality. So that is what our products do. One interesting kind of difference between us and a lot of kind of modern software companies is we don't actually care where you run it. All of our software is available in the cloud if that's easier for you. If you're a bigger company and you want to have your IT department install it in a data center, run and manage it, you can do that too. We don't care. It's the same code base. So that is us. Great customers like NASA and Amazon and Tesla. And we have 43,000 of them worldwide. So things are going well. There are a lot of companies that are trying to enable teams to do things better together, and hopefully they're picking us. There's a couple other things that I just wanted to leave you with, and then we can go into some Q&A if you've got them. But first of all, we love bootstrapping. We are a bootstrapped company. Who's bootstrapping in the room, by the way? Yeah, so a handful of you. The rest of you are all taking venture. Who's taking venture capital? What are the rest of you doing? We were bootstrapped, started in Australia on a line of credit. The founders basically took out a 10K line of credit and then started to make money the old-fashioned way by selling things. And we're a 13-year-old business that's actually never taken institutional capital. We've been fortunate enough that there's been enough demand for our products that we could fund our growth by reaching lots of customers. So the one interesting footnote is we've never actually taken capital on the balance sheet. We did a $60 million round with Excel in 2010. The founders split that. And then we did a $150 million round with T. Rowe Price last April that you may have read about, that actually the employees split. And we also love bootstrappers. And so our products, in the introduction, he mentioned the starter license program, but our products are priced intentionally very, very affordably for small companies and small teams. So you can get started in the cloud for $10 a month for 10 users. You can pay a one-time fee of $10 if you want to install and run the software on your own hardware, and we push that money to charity. And so $10 is really, really cheap to get started, and we don't profit from it. We take that money and try to help improve education in developing worlds, or developing countries, and developing worlds maybe eventually. And then we've got a bunch of products that are just free. So Bitbucket is free for you to use if you're a team of 5, and I think incredibly affordable once you grow that. You can basically pay by the size of your team. HipChat is a product of ours that is free. It doesn't matter how big you are. You can be a 100,000 person company and use HipChat free. So there's, I think, a lot of goodwill that we try to put back into the really hard yards of building a company together. And we care about that, so hopefully take advantage of it. I also want to talk a little bit about why we're here in Austin. There's really only one reason, and that's the queso. We came for the queso. But in actuality, we naturally came to Austin because it's a technology powerhouse. We're a product and software company, so anywhere we're going to go, we're going to go into an area where there's a lot of really strong, bright technical people. And we actually looked, there's a bunch of cities that I think outside of Silicon Valley can stake that claim. Portland was one of them we looked at. Raleigh was one of them we looked at. Boulder was one of them we looked at. And we came here, I think, in part because Austin, at least in that criteria, we felt kind of won them out in terms of the number of you and all the people outside in the room that we could convince to join our engineering teams and build great products and be connected to great product teams that exist in San Francisco and Sydney. So that was kind of mission number one. Also, if the company itself had a motto, we don't, but if it did, it would probably be keep Atlassian weird, because we're a pretty funky, interesting culture. And so I think culturally, it sounds like a mushy thing, but culturally, the city, I think, had a lot to offer us as just a culture and a group of people. And the people that we felt we could attract and continue to grow our company here were a lot like us elsewhere. So that was another reason. I think there's also the advantage of, as a company with 43,000 customers, we've got a lot that are further east than Portland and further east than San Francisco. A lot of customers that are on the West Coast. So in addition to product engineering teams, we also have customer support, customer-facing teams that are just a lot closer to customers that are further east or on the West Coast. So I think that was it. And we got here in April last year. Maybe some of you came. We had a kind of a cool launch party. And then today we actually have another launch party where we're welcoming our new office at 303 Colorado, which is a couple of blocks away. So if you want to come by for a beer, I think you're all invited. I hope, or you can just say Jay. Jay told me we could come. But it's we now have, I think we're bucking up around 200 people in our Austin office after only a year. So we've seen some pretty incredible growth, and it's just the beginning. We're in really early innings of growing a presence here and growing a great company and hopefully a great brand, not just globally, but also in Austin. So that's been pretty awesome. And I think I'll bring up on stage, Steve Goldsmith runs, not quite yet, Steve Goldsmith runs our office here locally and also runs HipChat Engineering. So a pretty significant engineering group that's building the HipChat product. It's really based here globally. So I figure I'll bring him up, and if you've got questions about what we're doing in Austin and also with HipChat the company, I can delegate those to him. And then the last thing I was just going to pitch you, the only pitch really is one thing that we've cared a lot about as a company. It really started from our founders who at a very young age, just as human beings and then also as founders in the company, I think cared a lot about giving back. And so we've been adopters of the 1% model, actually before it was really a thing. And so Salesforce is a good pioneer of the 1% model. Alongside Salesforce, we had really pushed Salesforce to make it more programmatic, have it be something that we could go out and hopefully get more support and momentum around. And so I think in September, at the end of last year, we, alongside Salesforce, launched the Pledge 1% program. And so you can go to this website if you're interested, but the basic idea is when you become a big company, if you're Uber and you're worth $40 billion, if somebody says, hey, give 1% of that $40 billion to charity, probably, Uber would be like, screw you, that's a lot of money. But when Uber, just to pick an example of one company, when they were worth nothing, 1% of nothing would have been really easy for them to give. And it's still 1%. 1% of nothing and 1% of $40 billion is still 1%. It's just the quantum as companies become successful and grow becomes really material. And the difference that you can make to the planet and to people is massive. So we're a company at a very young age that contributed 1% of equity. When we were worth nothing, it was easy to give 1% of equity, 1% of employee time. So all Atlassians can take 1% of their time and effectively donate that time to philanthropy. And again, if you're a coder, you can say, I'm actually going to help a nonprofit build a website or do something, build a mobile app, something that actually would cost them a lot of money to do, or that they can't afford the skill set internally. That's a great way to contribute things that we know how to do. It's not just grabbing a hammer and building a house for Habitat Humanity. It's using the things that all of us are good at and highly skilled at. And so 1% of employee time, and then 1% of products and profit. And so we encourage all of you, as your young companies, I imagine there's a lot of young companies and startups, to think about taking that pledge at a very early age. Don't wait until you're worth $40 billion, because it's a bigger mental leap at that stage. You've got probably a lot more people to convince that it's a good idea. But go to Pledge 1% and join us in the cause, because we can make a big difference in the world if we do. That's it. We are hiring. I'm sure you all have happy jobs, but we'd love for you to join the team if you're in an unhappy job, or even if you are, you'll come join a happier job. That's us. So Steve, why don't you come up, and if you guys have questions, it's a quick intro to the company. We can cover whatever territory you want to cover. This is Steve Goldsmith, runs our Austin office and runs HipChat.
Hello.
And he's the one that's organized. Actually, you should name drop him at the door.
Either of us.
No, I probably won't work. I've used that one too much. Yeah, in the back.
Who has the best queso in Austin?
That's an Austin question.
I'd go with Taco Deli, probably.
Boo.
All other answers are wrong.
Divisive.
Divisive answer, but Taco Deli. Definitely not Torchy's, it's too spicy.
What type of people are you looking to hire?
Here in Austin, so technical support is a big part of it, customer support, but it's customer support for customers like you. It's not rebooted. It is, you're at step 50 by the time you contact and ask for help with our products. And so they're very technical jobs. I often say the first third of our job descriptions are exactly the same. And then it's, are you doing customer support, are you building internal tools, or are you building customer-facing tools? But the core technology background is the same across the whole team. So primarily customer support for East Coast and Central time zones customers, and then HipChat. So HipChat engineering is mobile clients, desktop clients, Python backend, integrations with all of our products. And so pretty much any technology, but it's a high-scale platform development is the other big thing we're doing here. Bitbucket is also based here with a pretty similar profile.
Yeah. But it's actually awesome. I think almost every team has people here. So every function of the company has people on their team in Austin. So I don't know exactly what jobs are posted specifically on the website now, but there's a good chance that there is, almost in any function, there are roles here.
That's right.
Yeah.
In addition to the reasons that you mentioned as to why you chose Austin, is there anything about the future of Austin as opposed to the other cities that you were looking at that made Austin stand out?
High growth, right? So I think it's I'll answer this question and you can, but I think it's a city that is only going to grow and become better, and that's not true of a lot of cities. I believe that technology is kind of a core part of that, and so it's a city that I think people want to live in. And so the people that we want to attract, that are super smart and high skilled and technical, are gonna, I think, around the country are gonna, pick a handful of cities to go there, and Austin has that profile. So I just think that the future growth that we'll see in the city, I think, was a really important part of the equation for us.
Yeah, I'd add, this community, right, that things start here a lot more than they do in other places, and this, the same reason Capital Factory works is the same reason we're here, right? That there are new initiatives, new companies, new ideas happening a lot here, and we support that through software licenses. We hire people that think like that. Like, no matter how you look at that kind of growth, that is why we're here, right? I moved to Austin 17 years ago to do that, and that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm excited to work with these guys too. So.
Yeah, in the back. Well, one of the reasons, selfishly, is we want more people to use it, right? So there's a part of HipChat that we do charge for. So the HipChat, the basic version of HipChat, which is group team communication and chat, which is one-to-one or kind of in teams, that's the free product. The part that we charge for, if you want to use the services, is when you layer on other kind of real-time communication capability like video, audio, screen sharing, for a nominal fee per user. That's kind of a pay-for service. But Naturally, I think it's a product that we want to spread as widely and as deeply as we can. That's also part of the reason, the selfish part of the reason.
You all use all your own tools in-house as well?
To a crazy extent. Yeah, to a crazy extent. And it's like if I were to open a browser, you would see a Gmail tab and like probably at least 25 tabs with a little Atlassian logo on them, and then HipChat. That's kind of like, every day I'm going to use, personally, because I'm not writing code, I'm going to use Jira and Confluence kind of multiple times a day for various things that I'm connected to, and I'm going to use HipChat multiple times every 5 minutes, right, to kind of talk to people about what's going on.
And I'll add that we dog food everything globally. So before any customers get it, we've run every version of everything internally. 1,300 person company, you roll up HipChat and say, hey, here's a new build, and 30 seconds later you found out if there's something broken or not. So not just use it, but we use the pre-release version of everything every day to run the company.
Yeah, over here.
What are some of your Q2, Q3, Q4 goals with HipChat and where it's going? If you don't want to give specifics, just kind of in general, where are you going with it?
Performance is the core of everything that we're building around. So if you look at the growth curve for HipChat, it was 3 years for the first billion messages. We did 3 billion in calendar 2014. We're doing about 1 billion a quarter right now, and it'll be 1 billion per month by the end of this year. So performance is the core of everything I build for HipChat. But then the best thing basically to look forward to is better chat functionality, better video functionality, like Jay mentioned, integrations with third-party services, read state notifications, a bunch of small things that make it kind of the best core chat application. But beyond that, it's really just scale, right? It is a rocket curve. It's really fun. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, you.
Can you talk about the tech stack that sits behind HipChat?
Sure. It's Twisted Python, so async Python with PHP for all the marketing stuff, and we have our own. It's XMPP based. So we have Twisted for the Twisted Python XMPP as the protocol, and then REST based for all the like non-chat stuff, right? So non-XMPP stuff, and then mobile everything. We just rebuilt the web application in React. So there's a component-based web application that is the guts of all the desktop clients.
Yeah.
Clearly, software development is like a big part of the developer. What other industries do you all serve?
Yeah. Well, so our thesis is that that most teams work like software. All teams work the same way. The little simple visual that talked about any group of people that are trying to get to done have to organize, discuss, and do things together as a team that helps them get to done faster. And so a really common pattern, and maybe if you guys have been part of bigger companies where you use our products, a really common thing that happens is a technical team will adopt them, bring them in, and show the rest of the company or other parts of the company that they're just doing it wrong. There's like a better way to do it. And so our Jira and Confluence, and especially HipChat, are all really versatile products that anyone could use to organize, discuss, and do work better together. So that's sort of one kind of logical expansion path for us as a company. Is we start inside of a group that's building software, and we expand to marketing teams, HR teams, legal teams, support teams, sort of like the whole rest of the company, even if they're not working on a software project. That's one. And then the other thing that I didn't mention in here is we, Jira. Who's used Jira in the room? So like, yeah, awesome. So Jira at its core is a system for moving units of work around, right? Like that unit of work is a ticket, and so we built on top of the Jira core platform. It already had a bunch of really great workflow and ticket tracking capability. We built a service desk product on top of that platform where we gave just a mere mortal end user a really simple way to create a ticket. And we gave a type of an agent a different way to kind of manage a queue of all the tickets that were being created. And then we added some service level agreement configurability where that package then became, as a first port of call, awesome for IT departments to build a help desk or a service desk. My keyboard has a key that's sticking, I need a VPN token, I'm a developer that needs SSH access into this box, all of those things. The service desk product on top of Jira is awesome for managing. And then the thing that we've seen is if you think about every part of the business is effectively providing a service to some other part of the business. Pick legal. Lawyers, as an example, are there to kind of help the rest of the company with handle an NDA or do a contract review for something that, you know, they're helping the business. And for most companies, the request for help to like a legal department is done through email, which is, if you're of any size, is shitty. It's just a terrible way to manage work. And so what we're seeing is that service desk product becomes a cookie cutter from department to department, group to group. And so Twitter, as one example, has 120 different service desks for everything from IT to operations to dev operations to marketing to HR and legal to facilities. You know, like it runs the gambit. And that's a really common pattern. I just bumped into a customer of ours, Sotheby's, you know, the big auction house, and you know, they were telling me that auction art is moved from storage to the auction floor using Jira and a service desk, where like, you know, people that probably would be frustrated by the Jira experience, that if you're a software developer, you've accommodated, but less technical people wouldn't really be able to figure out. The business has been able to kind of like create those apps to move work around inside their org. So those are two big areas. One, just expanding with the general products to help other teams, and the other specifically around that kind of service desk app. Yeah.
So to kind of build on that, as you move forward out of strictly software applications, how are you doing your user research? How are you gathering these insights about the way that lawyers work or the way that auctioneers work and all this sort of stuff?
It varies by product, but I know on HipChat we do first-party research. We do like quantitative and qualitative market research. We do you know, traditional like usability paper prototypes, all kinds of different things. There's a group here in Austin that is doing a ton of that stuff. There's whiteboards for 80 feet of different stuff. It's really fun. Come have a beer. You'll see it. But it does vary a lot by product.
In the back.
Austin being a satellite office, how do you guys think about career planning and career development for your Austin people? On that?
Not satellite. I don't think that word exists for us. I mean, Austin is a core office. I don't know that we have any non-core offices, but it's a core office. And if you want to talk about your team, I can just talk generally career development. So I think as a growth company, career development is, you know, we added last year 700 people to the business, and you know, we're at 1,350. So you can kind of do the math. About half the company's been here less than a year old, and so there's a lot that you need to, you know, as a not just the talent in HR, but as an entire company you need to think about. So career development is one of those, especially for people that have been here for a while, where we spend a lot of time thinking about pathing. I think in engineering specifically, you know, we try to be a little bit more methodical about the paths that we give people to take. Not just in a titling, but actually like where we add responsibility for people that are going to go into from an individual contributor into a team lead capacity, from a team lead capacity into a dev manager capacity, from a dev manager capacity into a product line dev manager capacity, all those sorts of things. And hopefully the bigger we get, the more opportunities we can create for people to move up or around the org. The other thing, by the way, that we think a lot about is career pathing can be lateral, and we try to create lateral moves for a lot of the organization where it makes sense. So, you know, most people in our product marketing organization, as an example, came up through, you know, through technical roles, because we're a technical marketing company. And, you know, people in support, I think, look for opportunities to move into engineering as they kind of round out their technical skill set. And so that's, I think, another part of it, is finding opportunities laterally where people can move into a different track and then blossom from there.
I really don't have a lot to add. It's the same in Austin everywhere else, which is the best thing you can say. There's no special treatment that we do here. It's exactly like we do on the other offices, and there's no notion of satellite at all. So it's good. And HipChat, as an example, is a global product. It's built in Austin, San Francisco, and Sydney. So there's no geography doesn't mean anything to begin with, I guess.
Yeah, right there.
There seems to be some sort of implicit statement here that every role requires a hard technical background. Is that correct?
Well, hard might be the word that we debate. I mean, I think people with a technology background have there's less of an onboarding requirement. Put it that way. I don't think it's a hard stop. And again, by role, like certainly in engineering, certainly in product technical support capacity, we're going to look for people that actually have a minimum technical requirement, because otherwise it's going to take a long time to get them up to speed. There's lots of roles in the company that aren't technical. And was there more to that question, or was it? Okay. Are you technical?
I'm an MBA, so.
That's okay, we've got those too.
Are you open to collaborating with IT-based software product companies to kind of bring products to market that may be complementary to yours together?
I didn't hear the first part of the question.
Are you open to collaborate with Austin-based software product companies when they have products that are synergistic to yours?
Sure, absolutely. We also have one of the hallmarks of the products is they've got a pretty rich set of APIs and kind of extensibility and built kind of in with them. And about 3 years ago, we launched a commercial marketplace for people that were building integrations that's been pretty successful. So we can either go side by side to market with something, or we also, if a lot of you are looking for ways to maybe you're developers that aren't working and you're looking for a way to monetize your skill. My favorite story of the marketplace is there was a guy who was he was like a technical IT director at Cisco that had built a bunch of plugins for, probably some of you use them, like he built a plugin for Confluence that was like a charting plugin. So Confluence is kind of the collaboration sort of wiki-like product, and you can add a bunch of things that give it extra functionality. One that he added was a little thing that you could basically just put a SQL statement in, SQL query, and kind of run it through a chart. It would basically chart it. And that product was free. A little add-on was free. And when we created the marketplace, he decided to put a price point on it. And within the first year and a half, made like $950K. Quit his job. Now has like a team of 4 or 5 people. So it's been a huge success because I think we're creating an economic opportunity for a whole bunch of people out in the world that it's really hard to make money building an iPhone app or Facebook app today. I think it's a lot easier to make money building an Atlassian app.
So historically, IT is the customer for software products, and they might distribute it to the rest of the organization. Are you seeing pull from other departments that create a new customer for you? Does that create conflicts?
Yeah, so there's a couple of common entry points for us. One has always been, the question was, IT is a common entry point for products. Are we seeing pull through other parts of the organization? And I would just say 2 things. For us, historically, one really common entry point has just been developers, right? Because like a developer can start with Jira, start with Bitbucket or Stash or something, and in a small team, get the team kind of oriented around that, and then just use it without IT ever being involved. That's super common. And what happens typically is like it gets big enough and important enough that it's under somebody's desk and they're like, man, I don't want to deal with this anymore. Let IT deal with it. And IT's like, what's this? And what do I do with it? That's one common. And that happened when we were a really young company. That was super, super common. Another common path is one that you described, where IT might be talking to parts of the business about what they need and be familiar with us and bring us in. And then I think another common pattern is just the cloud. The cloud is, if you're building a software company, naturally the cloud gives you immediate access to all sorts of different types of people. Certainly software that you need to install and run on your own box requires, again, a level of technical proficiency to know how to do that. But the cloud means anyone that can basically fill out a sign-up form and swipe a credit card can begin using products. And so there's all sorts of different use cases that pop up on the cloud versions of Jira and Confluence that are part of landing inside of different parts of businesses. And then certainly it kind of varies by product. HipChat is a product that, again, anyone can get started with. And that's why it's such an exciting product for us, because you could enter multiple parts of the organization, just helping people connect and communicate better. Yeah, right there.
Can you talk a little bit about your integration and deployment pipeline when you're dealing with like massive distributed engineering teams, like around the clock? I assume you're like patching commands and all kinds of stuff.
I can talk about that. It varies by product. So the existing Atlassian products are like enterprise Java roots, right? They're 12 years old. They have a deployment train that goes out every 2 weeks. It has a stage test build environment, kind of traditional packaging. It's very high scale. We have 43,000 customers, so you have around that many that are in the cloud. So you're deploying it for that many customers. So it's complicated, to say the least. But that runs like on a deployment train kind of cycle. HipChat's the opposite. It's always been a service. It's complete continuous integration, continuous delivery model. So the platform of HipChat is deployed, I don't know, 24 times a day at this point right now. It's all AWS based. The traffic fades over, all that kind of stuff. Bitbucket is very similar to that. So we have kind of that service model of you're pushing it all the time, and then you have a much more stable traditional Java model of here's a bundle of war file that you're pushing out because it was originally an installable product. But both of them are very rapid. Like Jira and Confluence have hundreds of people contributing to that every 2-week release cycle. It's fairly rigid. HipChat's on the platform team, probably 40 or 50 people all around the world contributing 24/7. That's just pushing that out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Relative to the way enterprise software companies typically acquire customers through more of a push model, you guys have seemed to generate a pull model, right? Where you're solving problems that are not obvious to your consumer in the beginning because of the ease of entry, the ease of pull. Customers are probably creating users for you.
Yep.
I would imagine that's impacted the way you've structured the company.
Yep.
Is that hard considering, I would imagine everybody came from traditional enterprise software companies, at least in a marketing and sales role?
Yeah, it is hard. It's always hard. It continues to be hard. Even at a business that's north of $300 million, it's still like people that come into it. So our model, the way our model works, that he's describing is, if you think about the genesis of the company, we started the company in 2002 in Sydney, just after the first .com nuclear meltdown. So even if they'd wanted to, it would have been hard for two 22-year-old Australians to raise money to start an enterprise software company. And so that's one of the reasons why they bootstrapped. They kind of didn't have a choice. And then given that they were bootstrapping and they were trying to be conscious about how they grew, and given that market for them was not in Australia, they decided to use the internet to reach customers and sell software over the web, which again, in 2015, sounds like an obvious thing. In 2002 was not an obvious thing to do. And so what that meant was, as engineers, they thought, let's just make the funnel frictionless. Let's give everyone all the information that they would ask us for, including pricing, right? Let's publish our pricing and let people know the entire price. Let's price it affordably so that we don't have to screw around with discount requests and have to build a bunch of people, a sales team that is just handling discount requests. And so, and then what they did was they just continued to refine it. Naturally, they had to meet with a bunch of customers, talk to customers, and kind of hold their hand through the funnel early on. But eventually, somebody just bought the product without ever talking to anyone. For them, that was a validation point that if you can do it once, you can do it 10 times, you do it 100 times. And so, through the course of our history, we've always heard, yeah, your no sales model is cute. You'll get to, you got to 5 million, you won't get to 10. And then we hear, yeah, you'll get to 10 maybe, but there's no way you can build a $100 million company without salespeople. Now we hear you can't build a $1 billion company without salespeople. And I think we can. Like, I think we've, the thing that we prioritize first is customer self-service. Like, we want customers to be able to self-serve. If they need help, we let them know that we will bend over backwards to do whatever you need. Providing that isn't a request to discount, because we've already made the software so affordable you shouldn't be asking for a discount. And we just continue to refine and scale that. And then I think what's helped is, like, over time, like any company, you build a brand and recognition, and word of mouth is a hugely valuable part of our business. But we continue to kind of refine and scale it. And the example I use 2 examples whenever I talk to people about the business model. Like, one is Costco, right? Like, Costco is focused on, we come to the store, great products at the most affordable price. That's kind of like what they want to do. And certainly you can find someone to help you, but it's not like you walk down the aisles of a Costco and people are like trying to sell you something. Like, they're just there to help you, and that's kind of part of our ethos. And then the other company that I think is super interesting is Tesla. right? Because the reason that the automotive industry is afraid of Tesla, in my opinion, is not because of the technology in their car. It's one reason they should be afraid, but it's because of their business model, right? Like Tesla is not a threat at a $100,000 luxury car that few of us can afford. When they come out with a great product that is the #1 rated $35,000 car in Consumer Reports, and all of us that are shopping for a $35,000 car know that we can configure it over the web, we get the same price that every single person pays for that car, who doesn't want that, right? Like the last time I bought a car, it was terrible. No offense to the salespeople, but it was just an awful experience. And I think that it's proof that there's a customer service sort of pull where products are bought, not sold, I think is good. It works. And I think it's what a lot of us as consumers would want. We want to be helped, we don't want to be sold, and we want to find products that we can identify for ourselves, solve a problem for us. And for us, the product has to be the primary salesperson, which I think is how it should be.
If I can add to that last bit is why it's so much fun to work in the product team, because if it's not working, you just build a better product, right? You don't discount it, you don't go do anything else other than apply better product engineering, redo the design, like keep working on the product experience and keep it kind of pure for, it is the lead, like it's try then buy, right? So if you try it and then don't buy it, build a better product. Don't do anything screwy, which is a great place to be as a product person.
Yeah, in the back. Ooh, how long did it take? Probably, I don't know, like maybe a year and a half, like a year and a half or a year. And like our growth rate, if we went all the way back, and I could pull it up, but it was probably, when I joined the company in 2008, we had done, so we started in 2002. When I joined in 2008, we had just done $23 million, I think, from memory. And so it took us, a long time to get to that stage. But we have a history, at least over the last 5 years, of growing our business annually more than 40%. So we're doubling every 2 years at a minimum with that growth rate, and that's where you end up becoming bigger and bigger. Is when you can sustain growth. And I think the lucky thing for us is, if you remember all the big idea at the very beginning, like there are more and more companies that have to bet on technology first strategies. Like my favorite recent example, you guys probably saw that General Motors, back to Tesla, General Motors just canceled a $3 billion a year technology outsourcing strategy with HP to insource all that themselves. And they're going to go from 1,000 developers to 8,500. And they have to, right? Because otherwise they're dead in the water.
And they're in Austin.
Yeah, and they're in Austin. All right, there you go. Although we're a more fun place to work if you're looking for So yeah, it took us a while, and then I think we've been just kind of concentrating on putting money back in the business to help us grow. The one unusual thing, and I wasn't here at the time, but it was proved to be a smart move. And it was probably incredibly risky, is we shipped a Jira, first version of Jira, 2003, and at a time when they should have been focused when most businesses would focus exclusively on all of the opportunity that existed in Jira, they built Confluence. And so we at a very young age became a multi-product company, which I think is an important key to our success, because we've got a lot of products, we know how to manage them. I think it's helped our growth, that we've got a lot of different things to talk to customers about. But that probably seemed like a foolhardy strategy when they did it at the time. Cool.
Back to your growth, I guess with the number of people that you've added here in Austin so far, do you have a number in mind where you would cap the Austin office? And then is there another city that you've already kind of looked at where you go to next?
No, I don't think so. I think that when we talk now about our geo strategy, we're a lot more interested in concentrations of people versus spreading thin. In part because even though we build software to help distributed teams work better together, and I think we do it really well. It's still hard, right? And so the more distributed you are, the more of these crazy networked, tethered connection points you have to manage to get people on the same page. So I think it's a go deep and big versus a go wide and spread kind of thing. Yeah.
It sounds like HipChat drives your product and your growth a lot. So how do you view like the new kid on the block, Slack? Are they helping you grow the market, or are they like a real competitor?
I think they're a real competitor. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they built a great product. Very difficult to tell the two products apart when you stand them side by side. I think the thing that we think about, and I know that Slack thinks the same way, is like, first of all, if you're not using a product like HipChat or Slack, you should be. And so if you don't pick HipChat, I would suggest you pick Slack. But whatever else you're using pales in comparison. Like that is for sure. And I know Slack feels the same way, right? If you don't pick them, they'd be like, pick HipChat because it is better than what you're doing today. That's point number one. Point number two is like, it's a huge world, and there's just so many people that are not embracing that way of connecting with their teams and with their people. And that's what we're racing to embrace, is just a huge opportunity to change the way people communicate in real time. And by the way, how many HipChat customers in the room? Yeah, so, and to connect that to all of the other systems that you use, where it becomes a kind of a notification platform for all the things that are trying to get your attention, is just an insanely better way to work. And so that's what I think, it's just a huge opportunity. Yeah, in the back.
You guys done any studies to see how much reduction in email usage is by using HipChat or Slack?
No. Although it's not just, I would say it's not just HipChat that reduces email. Like, we are an email reduction company to begin with, right? Like, when you use Jira and the conversations around work that you're trying to get done move to Jira from email, it's a relief. It means the things that are in email are more potent. Same for Confluence is a product, if you've never used it before, you could compare it to Google Docs a little bit, where it's just a place to create long form content with a team of people. If there's a lot of discussion that needs to happen around that stuff, if you move that discussion to the web, and you could subscribe to kind of notifications, or you could set kind of an alert mechanism where you're like, I want my email inbox to bug me about this thing at this level. Your email becomes just a way better thing to use for what it's good for. So I think as a company, we are an email reduction company. It's not just HipChat that has that effect. It's everything we do. Maybe two more?
How interested are you in relocating employees? Are you looking in your different offices, not just Austin, but I mean, are you looking locally? Or?
Do it all the time. We do it all the time. If you,
including internationally?
Anyone here wants to move to Sydney, we are an incredibly active importer of talent and people. Because Sydney, we were the number one place to work in Australia, and I think in Australia we are definitely the hire of choice because we're big. We have 650, 700 people there. Most of them are engineering because a lot of product is built there. But it's hard it's a small pond, right? So there's fewer technical talent. And so we're always looking to import. Like, I'll give you an example. We did this thing where we threw a whole bunch of Atlassians on a bus in Europe, and we went city by city on this thing that we called Steal Your Geeks. And so because in some of those places like Spain, there's an unemployment rate of 25%. So we're just like, shit, let's go in, with a bus and some beers and find people that can code, and maybe they don't want to live in Spain, they want to live in Australia. And so that's been usually successful. And then we also move people around a lot. We ended up, and this is great. So when we created Austin, we opened the office in Austin, we asked people in San Francisco, does anyone want to move to Austin to kind of help get the office going? And the agreement that we made with them is like, if you want to do it, we'll give you 18 grand. Everything will stay the same, right? So even though the cost of living in San Francisco is a little bit higher, you keep your salary. And 25 people originally took us up on it, which is sweet because from my perspective, there's 25 people that might want to start families that, would find Austin a little bit more hospitable for that. As 25 or a 27-year-old, where maybe they moved from San Francisco from an apartment with 8 people, a 2-bedroom apartment with 8 people stuffed into it. And so we do that kind of thing, which I think is also, like, I'm really proud of that, right? Because a lot of companies would say, man, $18,000 per, that seems like a lot. And we're just like, give people a fresh start if they want to do it. So yeah, we do that stuff all the time.
About a third of the people in our office here now have relocated to Austin, not just the initial seed group, a lot of locals like me, but also we've relocated probably about a third of the folks, roughly, from out of town.
Yeah, in the back. 2 ways. One, we use our products. Like, our products help, right? So when you use something like HipChat, I mean, HipChat in probably all of your companies is full of memes and inside jokes and culture, right? Like, it's a culture brewer in many ways. And I think a lot of our products are like that because they're collaborative and communication tools. So, our culture is made real for a lot of people inside of the products that we use. And then the other thing that I would say is, we have a kind of core set of values that we created as a really young company. And we use the, have you guys read that Jim Collins book, Good to Great, where he talks about if you're going to colonize another planet, who would be your advanced colony party? What team of people in your company would you send to colonize the planet? And so we thought about who our colony team was at a really young company, or maybe 100 people, and we asked them to create a set of values for the company, and then the leadership team did the same thing, and then those 2 groups came back together and compared notes, and they were remarkably similar values. And so our 5 values are: play as a team, be the change you seek, don't fuck the customer, open company, no bullshit, and build with heart and balance. Those are our 5 core values. And I would challenge you, if you ever meet in Atlassian, say, what are the values of your company? I bet 1,350 people could recite all 5. Like, it's deeply ingrained in who we are. And that's kind of a hard thing to get right, but I think our products also help reinforce and keep that alive, right? Because it's a self-reinforcing system. It sounds mushy, but somehow it works. And beer. And beer. Cool, thank you guys. Hopefully that was interesting. And come over tonight, 303 Colorado. Tell them Steve sent you.
It's right across the street from Sullivan's, 3rd in Colorado. Just, if you were walking out the front door of Sullivan's, there's now a giant building there.
6:30.
6:30. 6:30. 6:30.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Great session, guys.